Hi, this is Michelle from Tell Muchly Paper Blooms. Today I'm back with the final instalment of our 3-part paper peony workshop. Hopefully you've already seen parts 1 and 2. I'll link those up above if not. Make sure you go and watch those first and then come back to see part 3. So today we're going to be finishing off our flowers. So we'll be doing the calyxes and the leaves and just finishing the stems off as well. By the end of this tutorial you'll have your finished peony. So hopefully you've been following along so far and you're up to date with everything. If not, go back and re-watch the previous tutorials and be sure to let me know if you have any questions. So we're going to start by cutting out our templates. So you want both the left and right leaf patterns as well as the bud and the calyx. And then the next step is to stretch out your green crepe paper, and you want to do that almost all the way out. So this next step is really crucial. You'll see each of the templates have 3 little lines on, and that's the direction of the grain of the paper. So when you're laying out your leaf shapes, make sure that you line them up with the lines on the paper. And then you want to go ahead and cut out your leaves. So you want 3 of the right side and 3 of the left, and make sure you have the lines going in the right direction. You can fold over the paper as well if you like, or you can do it as a single sheet, whichever you find easier. You can check that you have the grain of your leaves going in the right direction by putting the 2 halves together, and then they should form a V shape in the grain with the point of the V pointing towards what will be the bottom of the leaf. Next you want to cut out your bud shapes, and you can do as many or as few of these as you like. You just need to have probably 3 as a minimum. But if you prefer to have more, or you find that your flower needs a few more, then just cut some extras. And then we're going to do the same again with the calyxes. If you're finding the calyxes and the buds a bit too fiddly to cut out, just scale up the size of your template before you cut them. And then next you need to curl your calyxes. Now because you've stretched the crepe paper all the way out, there shouldn't be too much stretch left in it now. That's great because we don't want them to stretch too far. You just want to get a slight curl on them, so you just need to press in with your thumbs together and then pull out at the sides. Once you've curled all the calyxes, it's time to add a little bit of glue. So make sure you turn the calyx over so that the curve is away from you, and then just add a very small blob at the bottom. It's really important to make sure you get this on the right side of the calyx, so you want it to curl away from the flower rather than curl towards it. And you only need a really small amount of glue here. So ideally you want to attach your calyx around about 1 inch from the bottom, but it will depend on your specific flower, depending where the bottom of your petals are and also the shape of the flower too. Just make sure that you're covering the bottom edge of your petals. And then it's a similar process for the buds. You just want to curl those out and then over as well, so they're going to curl in 2 directions. So ideally they'll stick out and curl down, and then curl slightly at the sides as well. And then again you want to add a small blob of glue at the bottom on the side that will curl away from the flower. And then you're going to position them so that they fill in any gaps between the calyxes. So they start to hide all of the bottom of the petals, and also just to finish it off. So you might find that you're getting a few more gaps than you'd like, so if that's the case, just create some extra buds and then just fill in the gaps with them. Okay, so now it's time for your floral tape. The way that floral tape works is it's got a built-in adhesive which is only activated when you stretch the tape. So if you touch it normally it'll be a little bit sticky, but if you stretch all the way out you'll find that the glue starts to appear into little dots. So you just want to take a small piece and you can either cut that with scissors or just tear it with your fingers. And then you can start to stretch that out and you'll see the glue starts to appear. Now in theory you shouldn't have to add any extra glue. However, I always do just a small amount at the end of any bits of tape, just because I've found sometimes they come unstuck and this just stops that happening. So you just want to put a blob of glue on one end and then attach that to the base of the flower. So you want to position that so that it covers the bottom of your calyxes and your buds and hides any of the flower colour as well. So you're trying to cover the whole thing in green and then also to wrap it around and finish it off neatly. And as you're wrapping it around, make sure that you keep pressing down onto it to make sure it's stuck, and also stretch out the tape so that the glue is activated. And you can either work with one large strip or just lots of smaller pieces, depending how you find it easier. It does have a tendency to tear, so just work with smaller pieces if that suits you better. And then I just add a small bit of glue to finish off the end. Next, we're going to wrap the rest of the stem just in the same way. So again, I'm starting with a small blob of glue and then I'm just going to wrap the stem in the floral tape. So the easiest way to do this is to hold it tight with one hand and then to twist the flower with the other, making sure that you're stretching out the tape as you're doing it. So I'm pulling quite hard with my left hand here and twisting the stem round with my right hand. So I'm just rolling that between my thumbs. And you just need to keep moving down. Do this quite slowly so that you can make sure it's all fully stuck, and then make sure you're holding that tight as well. When I'm working with a longer piece of floral tape, I also add a little bit of glue just part way along, just to make sure it's fully secure. When you get to the bottom of the stem, just add a small bit of glue to make sure that that's all stuck. And then you want to wrap the tape around so that it covers the very bottom of the wire as well. Because you've cut that with pliers, it can get a bit sharp, so you just want to twist the ends round into a small point and then it'll just break off quite easily. So next we're going to do our leaves. So take the first side and you want to add a very thin line of glue down the very edge. And then we're going to cut some wire to the right length. So it doesn't need to go the full length of the leaf, but it needs to stick out at least an inch from the bottom. Now you might have enough wire left over from your original piece, depending how short you made your stem originally. And then you want to just lay that on top of the glue right on the very edge of the leaf. Also at this point, just make sure that you have the grain lines of the leaf going in the right direction. So remember, the point at the bottom of the V should be the bottom of the leaf. And I'm going to add glue to all three of my leaves at the same time so that it has a chance to go tacky. And then again we're going to add the wire, so start it from about an inch away from the top of the leaf and then make sure you have at least an inch, if not longer, overlapping at the bottom. And then I'm going to go back in with my glue and add a really small amount of glue to the top of the wire.
You really don't need much glue at all, this is just so that it will easily wrap around and stick. Next, we want to wrap that wire into the paper. So it's almost like just covering the edge, so we've got a nice straight edge to work with. So I just roll that round with my fingers and then I fold over the top piece just to create a crisp edge. And you can just smooth that out and press it down with your fingers as you work. Don't worry too much if you have excess glue. If you can get rid of any extra bits, that's great, but this will be the bottom of the leaf anyway, and it's also going to dry clear. So we're just going to repeat that for the other 2 leaves as well. So again, we're going to wrap the edge of the paper around the wire. This is where it helps to have nails because you can actually just push that in with the edge of your nail. And then you can just fold over that top section just to give it a straight edge too. Once you've done all 3, I like to just go back in and make sure they're all secure and just remove any excess glue. So the next step is to take your leaf and then you want to make sure you've got the underside of it, which is the side where the wire is more visible. And again, we're going to add a very thin glue line all the way along. And then you need to flip it over so that the glue is on the bottom. And then take the other half of that leaf and line them up so that they form the V. So you need to look at this from both sides. So from the bottom, the pieces need to overlap so that you don't see the wire. And then from the top, you want a nice crisp edge with the line down the middle. If the very top pieces don't line up, don't worry too much because we're going to trim those anyway. So again, you add your glue, turn it over, and then you need to line them up, start at the bottom, and just make sure that they're attached to form a V. Once they're roughly in place, you can then go back in and either reposition or to squeeze them together. Once you've done all 3, just go back and make sure they're properly stuck. And then you'll probably find that the edges don't quite line up, particularly at the top. So just go back in with your scissors and trim those so that you've got a nice sharp point. If you've got any bits that are sticking out or aren't quite the right shape, you can trim them now as well. When you're trimming them, just make sure that the point of the leaf lines up with the center line as well. And then we're going to take a small piece of floral wire and just wrap that around the bottom of the leaf stem. When you get to the bottom of the wire, just keep going and give it a bit of an overlap and then twist the tape around on itself. And then now you can go back in and you can start to shape your leaves. So because we've got wire in the middle of the leaf, you can bend it into a really nice shape. So peony leaves are actually quite curved, so you want to get quite a good curve on there. But don't worry too much because you can always adjust this later. Then you need to take all 3 leaves and hold them in place on the stem. I normally do them about 1 inch from the bottom of the bud. Then you just wrap that with some floral wire. You can just do a small piece to start with just to hold them in position. Once you're happy with the position that they're in, you can then go back with some more floral tape and finish off the stem. So make sure that your tape goes right up to the underside of the leaves and pull that tight so that they are well secured and they can't move around. And I make sure to wrap that around several times, particularly near to the leaves. And then you just want to work your way down the stem, wrapping it around several times to get a nice neat finish. When you get to the part where the bottom of the leaf wire is, you'll need to add a few extra pieces there. At the bottom of the stem, you can either finish it as we did before, or you can actually twist it round so that you just carry on with one piece and that'll go back up in the opposite direction. You'll see that the bottom of the wires from the leaf have created like a bit of a bump on the stem. So you just want to focus on that area by wrapping around a few extra times, and you can generally smooth that out so that it's not so visible. And then you can just tweak and bend your leaves to get them to the shape that you like.
Okay, so you should by now have your finished flower. Hopefully it's all come together and looks great, so I can't wait to see how they've all turned out. If you want to share them, then make sure you tag me at tarmuchley_paperblooms on Instagram. You can also use the hashtag tarmuchleypaperblooms. Thanks so much for trying the tutorial and let me know how you got on. If your paper peony doesn't look quite the same as mine right now, then please don't worry, that is completely normal. As I mentioned in a previous video, another paper florist once said to me, you need to make at least 10 of every single flower before you can perfect it. And even 10 doesn't perfect it, to be honest. So don't worry that your first flower doesn't look anything like you expect it to, because by number 10 or number 20 it's going to look completely different. And to be honest, even by number 2 or 3, you'll see a huge improvement. So just keep at it, keep practicing, try a few different peonies in different colours and see how you get on. So enjoy styling your paper peony around your home or gifting it to a friend or loved one. Whilst you're busy practicing making your peonies, I'll be making some more tutorials for you. So let me know in the comments below which flowers you'd like to see. And I hope to see you back here soon for the next bloom. Ta muchly for being here to celebrate life's special moments with me.